Good day, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of We Talk Real Talk. My name is Ogunsigai Bukunlua, and unfortunately, I wouldn't be hosting my co-host today, but I'll do a good job to deliver. Today's topic is building trust, and we would be speaking with a single mother about rebuilding trust after emotional changes. Trust can become difficult after divorce, trusting people, trusting relationships, or even trusting yourself again. Today's guest is Funke Ejayikunle, a resilient woman whose life experiences have shaped her understanding of trust, healing, and strength. A trained communicator, mental health advocate, and a single parent who survived physical and emotional abuse in marriage. She made the difficult decision to walk away from an unhealthy relationship in order to protect herself and her children. Although the journey after divorce was painful and filled with emotional challenges, she rebuilt her life with courage, faith, and determination. Beyond raising her children largely on her own, she has dedicated much of her life to supporting vulnerable women and advocating against abuse through humanitarian and community work. Her story reflects not only the struggles many single mothers face, but also the strength, resilience, and hope that can emerge through healing. Isn't that just wonderful? We see a lot of single parents out there, both the mothers and the fathers, and we generally do not know what they're going through, and it's so sad. It's so sad that people who were once together in love and bonded together will now depart, and then it's going to be there's a lot of struggles that would happen, emotionally, physically, and mentally. So we asked Miss Funke Ejayikunle a few questions, pertaining to the topic today, which is building trust. And the first question we asked her was, what was the hardest part about trusting again after divorce? I think that is a very important question. I think that's the foundational question to ask somebody when we're talking about trust. And she responded, the hardest part for me was realizing that the person I trusted most became the source of my deepest pain. After experiencing physical and emotional abuse, trust did not just become difficult in romantic relationships, it affected my friendships, decisions, and even my ability to depend on people generally. I became very cautious because I had learned through painful experiences that love and loyalty are not always enough to guarantee safety or support. She said, what hurt even more was watching someone choose not to be actively involved in raising the children simply because I decided to leave an abusive situation. That kind of betrayal leaves emotional scars. Rebuilding trust has been a gradual journey of healing and boundaries. Faith also. And also learning that not everyone will misuse my vulnerability. Like I said before, this is a very sad situation because you could just imagine somebody deciding that they're not going to raise this child that they are also responsible for, just because you chose the best decision, which is to walk out of an abusive relationship. This podcast is real talk, and we always want to sympathize with every single parent out there, and also the children as a result of divorce going through anything emotionally, mentally, or physically that's causing them pain every day of their lives. And so we sympathize with you, Mrs. Funke Ejayikunle, and we do understand everything, because in the society that we are in today, everybody is going through something or another, especially because of divorce. And all we can do is to feel sympathy and help people tell their own story. The second question we asked Ms. Funke Ejayikunle was, did divorce affect your confidence as a parent? And she proceeded to say, yes, it did at first. As a single mother, there were moments I questioned whether I was enough for my children, emotionally, financially, and mentally. Society often places pressure on women to hold the family together, even at the expense of their well-being. But over time, I realized that choosing peace and safety for my children and myself was not a failure, was an act of courage and raising my children mostly on my own strengthened my confidence, because I began to see how resilient we all become and how I became through the process. It is very, very satisfying to hear that in the process of healing you found your strength because of your children. I always say this thing, and we always say this thing as family in this podcast. We keep saying that parents, separated or not, always think of your parents, and that should not stop you from thinking about yourself, caring about yourself, taking care of yourself, and putting yourself first in some situations, because you cannot raise your children if you are not mentally okay. So it's good that, understanding that you need to take care of yourself as well, and also your children, you did that and she did it as well, and it has helped the process of our healing, right? And then the third question we asked her was, how do you rebuild emotional security for yourself and your children? She said, I rebuilt emotional security by creating stability, consistency, and openness in our home. I made sure my children knew that they were loved, protected, and heard. I tried to become emotionally available to them even while I was healing myself. I even took a course on emotional intelligence and self-worth. Also, my faith, purpose, and commitment to helping through my NGO, Heartminders Initiative, played a major role in the healing journey. I also learned the importance of setting healthy boundaries and surrounding myself with supportive people. Healing was not instant, but little by little, we created a new sense of peace and safety together. It's one thing to be healing yourself and to take care of your children and to also help people outside of your family. Miss Funke Ejayekunle has not just raised her children to be the best and most wonderful kids ever. She has also created an initiative, Heartminders Initiative, a non-governmental organization that was started to help people who have been in abusive relationships and who are healing. Also, little children who have suffered from cases like rape. And she has been doing that, and it is still very much in function, and is still functioning till today, 2026. We're so proud of you, Miss Funke Ejayekunle. And now we proceed to the fourth question. We asked another question. We said, what misconceptions do people have about single mothers? Yes, we know that this particular topic is about trust, but we cannot avoid how society speak about women who have left their marriage or who have decided to take the bold step by walking out of an abusive relationship. And she proceeded to say, one major misconception is that single mothers are broken or somehow failed at family life. People often assume divorce automatically means the woman could not keep her home, especially when you are from a Christian family like me. That's Miss Funke Ejayekunle, without understanding the realities of abuse, neglect, or survival. Another misconception is that single mothers are weak or constantly looking for sympathy, when in reality, many are carrying enormous responsibilities with incredible strength. People also underestimate how emotionally exhausting it is to be both provider and nurturer while still trying to heal personally. I think this is very true. Women are often neglected in the society, especially when they've decided to walk out of something abusive. They never think of, what if she died during this, physical abuse or emotional abuse? They always think about she could have stayed. There's been many reports in Nigeria of women dying and having health issues due to physical abuse. So we're happy that a lot of women have opened their eyes and they now understand that there would be no good staying in an abusive relationship, because not only will you do it for yourself, but you'll be doing it for your kids. And so society needs to stop that notion of every single mother out there would look for sympathy or are not strong or are failed at life, because there are many many single mothers out there like Miss Funke Ijaikunle, and also many single fathers out there that are doing their best and have raised the most wonderful kids, like myself today. Finally, we asked one last question and we said, what helped you emotionally heal? Which we think it's a very good way to end our conversation with her, because we're not just trying to get out, answers from her for our topic and everything. We're also trying to understand how she managed to come out of something so abusive and still build something for herself and for people in the society and still raise wonderful kids. And this answer would help not just us here, but people and our listeners that are listening to this episode. And she responded, she said, what helped me heal was purpose, faith, and time. Turning my pain into something meaningful through helping other women and vulnerable people gave my experiences value beyond suffering. My children also became a source of strength and motivation for me. Healing did not happen overnight. There were moments of anger, sadness, fear, and loneliness. But gradually, I learned to forgive myself, to stop blaming myself for the abuse, and accept that living was necessary. I also learned that healing does not always mean forgetting what happened. Sometimes it means no longer allowing it to control yourself in life. I mean, this is what we always say in our podcast. We say that when we're telling you to heal, we're not telling you to necessarily forget the pain that you've gone through. We want everybody going through this to understand that when you're healing, you're not forgetting the pain. You're not letting it affect whatever you're doing in the future, right? And that is the major step that we're advising every single mother and single father out there to take in this podcast. And so, trust after divorce is not rebuilt overnight. Sometimes it begins with learning to trust your own decisions again. And please, not everybody will hurt you. And we pray that everybody out there that is going through, failure, you're feeling down, you're feeling sad, you still think about your decisions. It is very, very normal. At least according to Miss Funke Njaikunle here, she has said to us that, it takes time. And we know by tomorrow or sometime in the future, you all would be fine. We're wishing you a happy week from our podcast. Don't forget, this is We Talk Real Talk, and we'll see you in our next episode.